Today I'm picking up Mohammed Nabiyu. Mohammed is a young man who lives in Sierra Leone, Africa. When I first met Mohammed, he was 12 years old, and he was a child who had been deeply impacted by the civil war in Sierra Leone. He was actually picked up in the marketplace as a child who was homeless. He grew up in a ministry of the United Methodist Church called the Child Rescue Center. Today, at 28, Mohammed is the director of the Child Rescue Center. He completed his education, he went to college, finished his college degree, then became the director of the Child Rescue Center. If there's anybody I know who understands what it is to be vulnerable, but also work every day with the vulnerable, it's Mohammed. But I'm really excited for you to meet him. Hey, Nat, great to see you, man.
Hi, Tom. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
Sure.
Mohammed, talk a little bit about what you do.
Well, I work at the Child Rescue Center as the director of the organization. The Child Rescue Center transforms lives, unlock potentials, develop leaders, and strengthen families. We take care of the most vulnerable population of our country, including both families as well as children.
Okay, Mohammed, you are a very humble guy, and I know that, but what you just shared sounds more like your brochure than really what you do every day. You care for over 600 kids, you and your staff, and you provide education, you provide medical care, and as a result, they're not in child labor. But I also know something else about you, and thanks for letting me share this. You were once one of those children who was so vulnerable. Your father was shot by rebels during the Sierra Leone Civil War. You were there, you saw that. You ran into the bush with others, and you lived on your own for a period of months and years, and ended up in a marketplace where the director of the Child Rescue Center found you. So you know exactly what it's like to be one of the children whose care you're a part of today.
So my story with living through this traumatic event really helped to shape my life, to be able to know that, okay, God cares and He values everyone. God values people that we don't even care about, even though He knows our darkest moments. But He loves us anyway, above all things.
You know, Mohammed, the nice thing about your story, you have lived vulnerability. You were the child in the bush, you were the child in the market who was later brought into through the ministry of the United Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people who have experienced hardship have just a unique lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, if you've never been vulnerable, it's important to be humble. And that makes a big difference.
It does. I have learned to work with my staff. We call it the iceberg principle. You have a small part of the iceberg tipping out from the ocean, and then you have the rest under the surface of the water. It's there. So most times, we do not even see what is under. We only see on top. And even it's biblical, it's in the Bible, it says things that are unseen is internal. You see it there. And those are much more rewarding. And sometimes, instead of us rushing into conclusion or being judgmental of people, we may want to really go closer to them and really understand what is underneath the iceberg. What are those feelings? What are the underlying pressures?
My experience is compassion is what drives me deeper under the waterline.
Yes.
In your image. You're right. Judgment is up here, but compassion is down here, because until I understand what are all the things that have affected this situation, what's going on in this person's life, there may be 100 things I never thought of.
You never thought of.
But I have to have enough compassion and kindness and curiosity.
That can change your life.
Yeah. I love the word curious.
Yes.
Because it implies humility.
It does.
It just says, look, I know I don't know.
Yeah, of course, I'm here.
I'm questioning because I'm trying to understand.
Yes.
That's what I like about the word curious.
It's very important. Once you become curious, then you start to know about this person more. And then what happens? Opportunities start opening up to say, how can you make an impact? How do you change that? Every day is an opportunity to change your life. Every day is an opportunity to see somebody. Even by your mere words. You see somebody standing, you know, you talk to the person. How many times we go to church, we all sit with our family next to each other. After service, we are gone. Do we even take time to even shake hands with other person next to us and ask questions and talk to them?
You know, as you say that, I'm thinking about your image again of this iceberg. And sometimes what we see above the waterline is a mess.
It is.
And we judge it and we're like, how did it get to be such a mess? And we don't know what's happening under the waterline. But then let me flip that around.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we look above the waterline and we say, oh, that everything's fine with that person.
Yeah.
You know, wow,
Yes.
they've got it going so well. But
That
in
is it.
fact, under the waterline,
Things
they
are
may
not
be
good.
really struggling.
They are.
Right? So I think part of everybody helping every day, everybody who's just wanting to be love to others, is you've got to be willing to sort of find out what's going on with people. And
Yes.
one of the things I have to realize is Jesus is Tom is not.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't have, like, Jesus sees people, he already knows their story. He knows what's below that waterline.
Uh-huh.
So the curiosity becomes very important, because in the curiosity is where I become Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
By caring enough to ask, because listen, if you're curious, it takes time, it takes attention.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important piece. And the more curious and caring I become, the more that changes me. And I really learn to love God by loving my neighbor.
We are Christians, we are Christ-like. We want to follow him. And look at all what he will engage with people who are out of his clan, who is out of his tribe, and reach other people. So if you don't really go to a person, there are some people there who have been waiting for years. They only want somebody to talk to them, somebody to just sit and listen to them. They are not asking you to solve all their problems. Just listen. They want somebody to say, oh, you care. People don't care how much we know until they really know how much we care.
Yeah,
until they realize that. That's so important.
Yeah. So then you have to engage. You have to decide there is something I can do. I can't do everything, and I certainly can't do everything for everybody.
That's true.
When I'm looking to serve Christ, he gives me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And
see,
I find he doesn't make me do everything, but he expects me to do something.
People are thinking that, oh, I need to do something big. No. Sometimes the smallest things we do have the largest impact. Yeah. We don't even recognize that.
Waiting for the big is often the excuse for not doing the small.
Yeah, you do not. I've always told my staff, do not wait for the perfect moment.
Yeah.
Take this moment you have now and make it perfect. Sometimes tomorrow never comes.
Because
prepare for today.
This is the moment Jesus gives you.
This is the moment you are in, and you may not see tomorrow. This is the moment, and let's stop arguing about waiting for the good people or how people can become good. You be the good person. You be the change you want to see in the world.
What's the closing challenge that you would give people, or the closing piece of advice you might offer?
My advice is this. I know we are living in a world that is so demanding of our time, of our resources. And I know we always want to do big things. I think there are so many opportunities every day. Every day we wake up, it's a new day to change our lives, to make something better, to save somebody's life. So I think my advice is we go out there and continue to do what we can do to make other people's life better. Let us remember the iceberg story, the tip of the iceberg story. Let us stop judging people from the surface and try to take time, to be curious. My other advice is let us always learn to enjoy our journey. We focus too much on the destination sometimes. Where are we going? But let us learn to enjoy the journey along the way. Like Jesus, we read in the book how many times he stopped by the way to help people, to do something for other people, to help people. He stopped in the heat of the day to help the Samaritan woman. He stopped to heal somebody. He stopped to ask somebody, question that changed his life forever. So wherever you are, it's not your final destination. It might be a practice ground for you. God is preparing you for another place. Yeah. So you look at what you have.
You're on the road all the time.
You are. Yeah. So it's very important. I always look at that.
Mohammed, it's been great spending this time with you and taking this drive. And I really think this image of the iceberg that you've given us is really helpful. I'm really grateful for the life you live and the things you do.
Thank you.
And so thank you for blessing people.
I appreciate it. Thank you
and
very
thanks
much.
for being here today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.